right, we are on to a whole nother book of the Bible. We're on the book of Ruth now. I did a little calculation, and if I calculated correctly, we have read through 30, if you've been here since the beginning, we have read through 34 books of the Bible. That's pretty cool. That's pretty exciting. There are only 66. Only 66. So we are more than halfway there, which is very exciting. So isn't that a good thing? Like, I'm happy to be able to go through all of the Bible. I've gone through it before. You know, you go through at different seasons in your life and you're like, okay, sometimes you skim through a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. I skimmed through a lot that I was like, okay, whatever. But as I get older, go through different things in life, you read it with like these fresh new eyes. And I've talked to many older women, and when they talk about how many times they read through the Bible, and they said every single time, it's like learning something new. And isn't that interesting? It's like you can read a fiction book, right? And you know the end result, which you know the end result of the Bible. But it's like, okay, you know what happens. But in the Bible, you can read it and you can go, oh, I've never seen that before. Oh, I missed that point. So it's a good thing. We are on the book of Ruth. So we're going to start in Ruth Chapter 1. And it's Naomi, widowed. In the days when the judges governed Israel, there was a famine in the land of Canaan, and a certain man of Bethlehem in Judah went to live temporarily in the country of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. The man's name was Elimelech. Do you know when you stare at a word and you're like, Elimelech? Elimelech, I think that's how it's said. And my mind's getting messed up with my mouth. And his wife's name was Naomi, and his 2 sons were named Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephraimites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went to the country of Moab and stayed there. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left a widow with her 2 sons. They took wives from the Moabite women. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. They lived there about 10 years, and then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So the women, Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. And then she set out with her daughters-in-law to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in Moab how the Lord had taken care of his people of Judah and giving them food. So she left the place where she was living, her 2 daughters-in-law and her, and they started on their way back to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you return to your mother's house. May the Lord show kindness to you as you have shown kindness to the dead and to me. May the Lord grant that you find rest in each one in the home of her husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud. And they said to her, "No, we will go with you to your people in Judah." But Naomi said, "Go back, my daughters. Why should you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that may become your husbands? Go back, my daughters. Go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I said I have hope, and if I actually had a husband tonight and even gave birth to sons, would you wait until they were grown? Would you go without marrying? No, my daughters, for it is much more difficult for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has gone against me." So I believe, I've heard over the years through different people sharing things, it's that when your spouse would die, it would be more tradition for the daughters to go back to be with like their fathers and their land and their family, and they were different. But she said, "No, we're going to stay with you and go with your family here." But I find it interesting that they go to, this is just my own thought, is that she heard that the Lord had taken care of his people in Judah and given them food. So she had heard about something and she went there, versus staying where she was and God providing there. I don't know. That's just a weird thought that I was reading that. I'm like, instead of going somewhere, or instead of staying where you're at, it's like being led to go somewhere. I don't know. Let's keep reading. And then it says, Ruth's loyalty. When they wept aloud again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Oh, so Orpah left. Then Naomi said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Turn back and follow your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you or turn back from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do the same to me as he has done to you, and more also, if anything but death separates me from you." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more. So the 2 of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole city was stirred because of them. And the woman asked, "Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Do not call me Naomi, sweetness. Call me Mara, bitter. For the Almighty has caused me great grief and bitterness. I left full with a husband and 2 sons, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has afflicted me?" So even she's thinking she's going with the Lord and everything's going great, and then she gets this bad hand dealt to her, right? And she's like, don't call me happiness, don't call me sweetness, call me bitter. So she's feeling stuff, right? So Naomi returned from the country of Moab with her Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, and they arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. So even though she's feeling bad, let's see what God does. So this is your daily Bible chapter, reading God's Word Monday through Friday. See you tomorrow.